I'm not tired at all. Why would you say something like that? Hi guys, welcome. This is probably going to be the second to last of one of these Who the Fuck Are Yous. The only person we've got left is Bruce Wells, unless somebody wants to get me in touch with someone they know that is trying to make a run at the USPSA presidency. This will be the second to last one. So tonight we're having on Mike Shatalov, and then we got Bruce Wells on Sunday. That's all I got. So if you guys know somebody, have them reach out to me or shoot me their name, and I'll see if I can find them on my contact list. If this is your first time watching it, the concept here is nobody knows who these guys are that are running for president unless they're like your local boy. So we're trying to get them introduced to everybody so you guys can at least kind of consider who it is you're going to vote for before the election actually starts. And then once the official election starts and they do their write-up for the USPSA front site and then and the Q&A that they do for the website, those will be posted, and we'll have the guys that are actually on the ballot back on to ask them a little bit more pointed questions. This is more of an introduction to them and a couple questions that are pretty generic, softballs thrown. Towards the end, we'll ask you guys what it is questions that you've got for them. At the end, I've got this lovely size large PCC shirt that I will give away at the very end to somebody that wants to wear a large PCC shirt. This will probably be one of the few times you see me wearing it, so what the hell. We'll do that at the very end. So let's see if we can get Mike in here. Come on, Mikey. You got no questions. I've screwed this up before, so I'm trying not to screw this up. This is a large. I just have big guns. It's not true. Grandma, there he is. I think I got the right request on there. We'll see if he's online. There he is. Look at that guy. Hey, Mike, welcome on. Hey, I guess my first question is actually going to be something pretty simple. Is like, you have it listed as Michael on your website. Are you trying to distinguish yourself from Mike from Michael? Should I be calling you Michael, or can I just call you Mike? Like,
you have to feel the beard, man. You can call me what you want. Just call me, baby.
Okay, so I'll keep sticking with Mike because I'm lazy as all hell. All right, so for the people that don't know who are you, and what area are you out of?
Mike Shatalov. I am from Area 7. I've been doing USPSA for 4 years. 2017 is when I joined.
You said 4? You said 4 or 40?
4. 40?
Okay, 4 years.
Is there anybody who's been doing this game for 40 years? It hasn't existed 40 years.
There's a lot more gray in your beard than there is in mine.
I've been around.
All right, so where are you at with your petition?
Well, I'm done with that stuff, man. I actually started. Here's the funny part. I actually have been preparing for this election for almost a year now. You probably saw my website. I was gearing for the 2022 election. I didn't know there was going to be a special election. So the website was in production for a while. The petition, I started collecting signatures in the beginning of the season. I think probably like May. I submitted my petition to USPSA headquarters. I want to say either June or July, and I got a confirmation that it was good to go. I had all my signatures, so from where I stand, I'm officially on the ballot.
Okay, so before I ask you more questions, don't forget, like I tried to warn the other guy, just look here. If you start looking down here at all of the crap coming up at the bottom, you're going to have a hard time concentrating on your answers.
I'm using a Kindle, so my camera is on the side. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because it gets to be too much. Well, you've already answered the first part of the question, is how long you've been shooting practical shooting by any name. You said 4 years in USPSA. Is that 4 years total in any kind of practical shooting?
Yeah, if we're talking about practical shooting as far as pistols, then yes. I picked up my gun.
Practical shooting covers 3-gun.
I've never had doing that stuff. I picked up my pistol permit in New York in 2016. I shot an IDPA match, and then I started looking what else is out there. shot my first match at Matamoros in Pennsylvania in 2017, I think, end of 2017, and joined the very next day. I think I joined USPSA, and in 2018, I went to my first major match, which was the Nationals, and got my ass whooped, of course, and that's what started the fight.
You went straight from local match to nationals. I love your dedication, dude. That's amazing.
Go big or go home.
Oh, you went home. I know you had to just go home.
I went home.
All right. So, what division is your favorite? Why is it not PCC?
I'm actually a PCC master, 72%.
Oh, that's it. I'm hanging up on. Okay, no, I really don't care.
No, I
so much.
a couple times, man. Production, I started shooting production. I started shooting limited 10 because I did not know what divisions there were. I had a Glock 21 and 45 ACP, and they put me in limited 10. Started shooting production for 3 years, and that was my primary division. I did 2021 low cap nationals. That was the last one that I shot production, and I picked up carry optics. So I've been shooting carry optics since, I guess, May or June.
So yeah, when you first started off, you were definitely making major power factor. Yeah, you weren't messing around. All right, so what's what if you were elected? What's the first thing you'd want to see changed as president?
I don't know about changes, man, but I really want to establish some kind of a communication channel with the section coordinators. I could do these virtual town halls, but Zoom meetings with the area section coordinators. Let's get to know these guys. Hear their concerns, their issues. I would really like to see some of these things. We talk about organization. We talk about who is the member and who is a shareholder. Well, section coordinators and match directors, these are the guys that are doing all the work on the ground. So I think as a president, it would be a good idea to have this direct line of communications with these guys. So virtual town hall.
Instead of just getting your information from area directors, you want to work your way down to the next level, which is the section coordinators?
Listen, if the area director wants to join these conversations, great. But I've spoken to several section coordinators asking them, what kind of support do you get from your area director? And some of them said none. And so, as a president, I think you should support not just, the stakeholders, but also the members. And these guys are the ones that are doing all the work. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing you'd like to see done is a better communication down to the section coordinator level. I like it.
Another thing you and I know a president can only do so much.
I'm just summarizing. I wasn't.
Yeah. No, that's fair. There's another thing. It's important to remember that as a president, you can't do everything by yourself. You have to work with the board. And people say the president has too much. The president does not have all that much power. A lot of the things that I'd like to do, you have to work with the board. You can't just do it all by yourself. But there are a couple of things that you can do by yourself, and so that is one of those things. And the other thing has been actually talked about for a while now. I think it was mentioned in one of the virtual meetings at the Nationals. A couple other folks talked about it. I had it on my website for a while. A repository of vetted stages for match directors. A centralized repository of these stages how did that come about? As a new match director, I want to run good stages. I want to run interesting stages that maybe I saw at the Nationals or at an area match. Well, a lot of match directors don't go to these major matches. So, if I go to a club and I see simple stages that are not super interesting, I think it would be helpful to some of these match directors to have access to these proven, reviewed, vetted data, designs that they can implement at their matches. So if I'm shooting a local match in New York or in New Jersey, which is where Pennsylvania, I could potentially shoot a stage from Area 1 or Area 2 or the Nationals. I've never even been to that match, but if that database is available to me as a match director, I can set up those stages for my local guys to enjoy. And that can be done with not by executive order, but that can be done without IT department.
Yeah. Okay. So the org over the last 5 years has been concentrating mostly on membership counts, like get more members. We're seeing a lot like record numbers of shooters coming to matches. What do you think we do to attract new clubs?
It seems there's a division right now. There's two schools of thought maybe. Some people say we need more shooters, and some people say we need more clubs. I'm in the we need more clubs category, and I think the focus of attracting more shooters is, it shouldn't be the primary focus. The primary focus of the organization should be competition. So to attract more shooters, that's a fine idea, and we need more shooters, of course. But how do we help local clubs and have better matches? I actually have a section in my on my website where I talk about some of these things. We can a part of connecting with the section coordinators would help me see if there are any clubs that are maybe stop being USPSA affiliated clubs. Why did that happen? Was it because somebody just got burned out? Somebody just didn't want to continue doing it? Is there anything we can do with the help of the section? The section coordinator will know better than anybody else why a club in his section stopped being affiliated. Can we help them somehow? Is it a matter of getting the equipment? And some of these points are, again, I outline on my website, like a rent-to-own program or match as a service program was another thing that I kind of mentioned there. The idea behind that is if I have a club, if I'm a match director at my local sportsman association, and I just don't have the equipment, and I have to take a loan. I literally went through this year. I have to take a loan from my club to purchase some equipment, or I have to put up my own money. Well, can the organization help somehow to these little clubs and say, hey, well, you can buy this equipment, lease to own. Maybe there's a vendor, maybe there's an approved vendor, somebody who goes to major matches and sets up their live scoring and does their live streaming. Maybe somebody like that wants to create a match as a service program where the club does not own any equipment, but the club is capable of hosting a major match. Like I say, I have 8 bays in my club, but I don't want to buy all the equipment. Well, maybe somebody like that come to my club, for a fee, of course, make it a profit, set up that match, set up the stages that I want to run, break it down at the end of the day, go home. I don't have to own the equipment. I don't have to maintain the equipment. It takes the stress away from me as a match director.
Okay. All right. So you got some ideas there. Well, so the next question is, for me, logically is, well, that's how we would build up new clubs. What can we do to support clubs that have been around for 10, 15 years? What can we do to help the match director that's, maybe just getting burned out, or he's not getting any support? He doesn't feel like he's getting any love from USPSA. What do you think you can do about that?
Well, that's the answer. How do you recognize a man who's been doing hard work? You give him some respect. You show him the appreciation. Let's say, like YouTube channel has those, bronze and silver and gold buttons. Once you reach a certain number of subscribers, a certain number of views, you get this small recognition. Well, what if here I am, I started a new club. Did I get a welcome letter from my area director? My section coordinator was there. My area director didn't send an email. Hey, Mike, hey, good luck with your club, man. Hopefully someday I'll come and visit you. None of that. So, okay, at the end of the first year, here I am. I finished my first year. I ran 7 matches, the right matches. How about USPSA gives me some kind of, like they started doing a badge system on their website. Hey, I'm match director, running matches. Or, 5 years later, he's still doing this. Hey, here's a letter. Here's a phone call from the president. Say, hey, man, you've been doing a great job for us. Thank you. A personalized letter, a note of some kind. If you're a section coordinator, been doing it for a while, how about like a video interview, or we have a media director who does outreach on social media. How about having some of those folks featured on a podcast like this? Hey, what is our organization? There was a couple of these conversations recently. We have membership and we have stakeholders, right? Well, if you look at the definition of organization, it's a structured entity and its employees, I guess. And that's what the organization is. Like, I don't see any range master instructors on the website. I don't see any section coordinator profiles on the website. No match directors. So does that mean that these guys are not part of the organization? Should they not be recognized? So the answer to that question is just show them some respect and recognize them.
Okay. All right. The next question down is about the board. I wrote it the way I wrote it says it seems like the board is a lot of work that gets paid in grief. How do you think we can entice people that might want to be on the board to actually be on the board, or at least say thank you to the guys that have been on the board? Anything you see in there? Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, man. It's a volunteer position. We hear this all the time. It's a volunteer position, so we all appreciate what they do. I mean, I think every single person who's on the board got on that board with solid intentions. I mean, nobody gets there for money, right? Nobody gets there. We know that. So why is there such a disconnect right now between the membership and the folks on the board? Why is it that some folks are asking questions and they feel like they're not getting the answers from the board? Is it fair for us to say, well, it's a volunteer position, so we shouldn't criticize that? We shouldn't, is it a shield that gives us full immunity? If you go to a dentist and a dentist, does a good job, you say thank you. But if he does a bad job, you will say something about it, right? So, big thank you for them for doing their work. But I think, it's important for us to remember that they represent us at the end of the day. So, how do you attract other people to run for the board? Well, I think somebody who's dedicated to the sport, not to the organization. I want to. In my mind, I want to run this thought experiment. Is it organization or is it the game? What comes first? The organization exists to protect the organization. So when a board member says, I always have the best interest of the organization in mind, I believe them. They do. But the organization is them and the employees of the organization. And it seems like the membership is not part of that organization. So I would hope that membership steps up and says, well, I like the game. I like
so you're seeing a disconnect between, like, I always interpret the board or anybody from the top end saying, that they're in it for the org to mean that they're in it for the sport, but you're seeing a disconnect there. Do you think there's a way to help fix that, or is that not a top-down fix?
I think there is. Some folks are red pilled, some folks are black pilled, some folks are blue pilled. There are people that are saying, we should trust our leadership. Explicitly not question anything. Some folks are on the other side of this and they're questioning everything. Some folks say, like, we can never fix this. I prefer to be a white pill. I prefer to believe that, if we can sit down and talk about these things and not accept. So you see this a lot on social media right now. People are asking questions. People are sending emails to their, elected representatives. And sometimes they don't feel like they're getting the answer. And so I think sometimes things get misread in written communications. I think maybe sitting down and speaking with people will produce better results, because there's a lot more personal communication happening. So I think there is a disconnect between what an organization is and what the purpose of the organization is. So I'm more in the camp of it's about competition. I mean, if you look at our purposes in the bylaws, no less than 3 times are we talking about representing, getting ready and representing the United States at the national and international competitions. The whole purpose of this organization is, we have several purposes, but that one specifically is mentioned no less than 3 times on the very first page. It's section 3, right? So if I have the best interest of the organization and I preserve that organization, that does not necessarily mean that I have the best interest of the sport in mind. It's just that I'm preserving the organization. I'm making sure that the organization exists in the future. That means I'm raising shooters numbers. I'm doing, club development, all these good things, yes. But are we focusing on the purity of the sport? Are we focusing on promoting sportsmanship, competition, advancement of skill? And at the end of the day, I think I do see a disconnect there. So there are 2 camps, and I think if the 2 camps kind of sort of come together and talk, I think we can figure it out. I'm white-pilled on that. I have hope.
Me too. I never saw a disconnect there, but I also wasn't looking for it. So that could just be my obtuseness. All right, well, let's ask the next question then. The board's been making a lot of changes. One of them specifically may affect your bid, but can you describe the changes the board has been making, and what do you think about them?
Yeah, the changes are interesting. I actually had a chance to speak with a couple of directors, and get some information. I actually sent a couple of emails, and I'm actually making some of these communications, most of these communications, public on my Instagram page with the screenshots of the emails that I'm sending. I sent an email earlier to my area director, asking to bring to the floor a motion to introduce explicit language to include in Article 15 of the bylaws to allow specifically for 30 days of membership feedback on any proposed bylaw changes. He agreed to bring it forward, so hopefully at the next meeting that we'll have this discussion. I feel strongly that as members we should, it's the board's job to hear our opinions, even though we are just members and not stakeholders. They need to hear our opinions. And we must, as members, if we are interested in this game, we have the duty to submit this feedback and fight for what we believe is the right thing to do. So, sorry, I lost track of what was the question?
All right, no, not a problem, man. It was the changes the board's been making, and what you think about them. So you talked about a change that you'd like to see. And what about the changes they've been making, or at least have been telling us that they've been working on?
Right. So let me get back to this. So the changes that they're making are interesting, and they're introducing a new position. They're splitting the position of the president, and they're introducing a position of CEO, somebody who will be running the organization, sending the checks under the specific supervision of the board. Now, this structure was in place in 2015. I think in 2016 is when they introduced a position of the president as a full-time position and got rid of the position of CEO or executive director, rather. So I don't know if they're going back to what it used to be. I don't know if they're redefining and revamping that role, but it has been right. So it makes sense. Perhaps it makes sense for somebody to take care of the managerial portion of the organization. I have no idea how it's going to affect the position of the president. Is it going to be just a bubblehead? Because, I mean, the president reports to the board. Let's not make any mistakes about that. The board ultimately has the control and the authority of the organization, right? I mean, it's in the bylaws. So what will be the definition of the role of the president? Now, when I submitted my petition, I was quite confident that I understood what the role of the president was. I'm not anymore. So I'm waiting for
It's been changing. So one of the proposed changes that they talked about in the last minutes they released was making it a 5-year requirement of being a member to be elected as president. So
I sent him an email about that.
Yeah, I imagine you did.
I did. I sent him an email, and I had to follow up for the second time a few days later, or a week later. I got a reply from Sherwin, and I had a discussion with another board member about those changes. And basically, the answer is it's still in the works. It's not finalized yet, and there's a good chance that they're not going to happen for this special election. But it will happen, or potentially will happen. Right. These are proposed.
Did any of them explain to you why they were looking at doing that in the first place?
There were some explanations about it, and I don't necessarily agree. Like, I don't like the idea of, if you're I can accept the 5-year requirement for being a member to run for the president. That kind of sort of makes sense to me. I can accept the I think they're proposing 3 or 4 years for the area director. I don't really like the idea of limiting new members from voting. If I'm a dues-paying member, doesn't matter if I've been a member for a month, 2 months, or 12 months. I should be able to vote on what my organization is trying to serve me with. So I don't like that change. But that's why when I saw those changes, I immediately sent an email to my area director asking to propose that 30-day, not mandatory, but explicit language that will be in Section 15 or Article 15 that will allow a 30-day membership feedback, and that'll be up to us then. So if we vote for that, then that's what we want, right?
So the last question I got on my list before we open it up to the floor is, we go back to the 2 camps thing. There's I'd like to see some of these rules change, and I'd like to leave the rules alone for a while. Which camp are you in? Any rule changes you'd like to see? Yeah,
the most recent major rule change was the final drop in the bucket for me. That's what kind of solidified my idea. Like, if nobody's throwing their hat in the ring, I'm going to do it. I do not like those rule changes. I did not like them then. As rule changes alone, I also did not like the way they were pushed through overnight. There was no membership feedback, and that's a major rule change. So on my campaign and on my website, there's actually specifically, a point of mandatory review and feedback from the members on any major rule change. And I specify what is a major rule change or what is a minor rule change. A minor rule change, in my mind, is clarification of language, something that does not change the core or the meaning of the rule. But when we're introducing, flashlights and different holster positions and magnets, like that's a major rule change. So let us follow that, right?
So,
but wait, I'm also in the camp of.
Go ahead.
I'm also in the camp of. If you look at our name in the bylaws, we are USPSA/IPSC, and so I do not like the idea of deviating too far from the IPSC rulebook. If we're sending our guys to the world meet to bring home the gold, are they going to compete with the flashlights? Are they going to compete with, magnets and all that good stuff, or are they going to compete by those rules? Now, I understand there's only a handful of people that are going to those, level 4 and level 5 matches, but nonetheless, it's part of our bylaw. So anybody who wants to change those rules, should think about fundamentally changing the purposes of the organization, right? Because that's our foundation, that's our constitution, so to speak. So anybody who speaks about changing major power factor should understand that it's there for a reason, and that is, to compete at the international level. Like, nobody's going to compete with minor power factor in open.
So you mentioned it several times. So let's tell everybody that's watching what your website is.
MakeUSPSAGreatAgain.com, .net, .org, .us. Go to any one of those; it'll direct you right to the website.
There you go. So we've mentioned it. You've mentioned it several times. Just make sure people know where to go. All right. So let's. I've gone through my list of questions. So let's open it up to the floor and see if we got some people in here who want to ask questions. You can write it in the comments. I'll try to read them, or you can send. There's actually a question button, folks. If you press that, it'll pop up on me. But let's see. Why? Okay, well, that's not a question to you. That's just a general question. Ben wants to know if, other than some changes you mentioned, are there any other bylaw changes you'd like to see?
I've studied the bylaws. I don't see anything that that I would have to take. One of the things I'd like to explore is, a possibility of folks running matches for profit. We are a non-profit organization, but I think, good competition between, match directors, people that are running recognized major matches, level 2 matches, special events or whatnot. If they can put up these events and make a profit, that will create better matches that we will enjoy shooting more. So I don't know if it needs to be included in the bylaws. I don't know what the legal ramifications of that would be. Of course, the organization.
All of the matches, so it's not. So the org doesn't actually control any matches other than the ones the org puts on, specifically nationals. So
Right.
all the local matches are an affiliate, and you can pretty much do whatever you want with that affiliate as long as you're using the rule book and you're paying your dues. You can already be a making profit on matches or not. It's not controlled by USPSA at all.
That's my understanding as well. But I don't see a whole lot of these commercial matches that are running under the USPSA umbrella. There was a couple last year that maybe I'm not aware of them, but I think that's not a bad idea to explore.
Okay, so I know from deep down hard experience that's the case. So yeah, there are clubs and there are areas and sections that set themselves up as a nonprofit with their own bylaws using USPSA, but that's a whole nother animal I'm not going to get into. I got a question here. Somebody wants to know what your views are on growing USPSA with the Steel Challenge base. We didn't touch on Steel Challenge at all. So you've only ever shot USPSA.
No, I've shot Steel.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah. No,
we didn't talk about it. So
Steel, baby. I got. No, I've shot Steel, and I enjoy shooting Steel. So I actually had a couple of conversations with folks about that, and they said the criticism was there's nothing in your campaign about Steel Challenge. Well, there's a reason for that. I honestly, well, first of all, I don't know enough about Steel Challenge to make any changes. My understanding is Steel folks would like to be left alone. Like, they like the way the game is run. I don't see anything that needs to be changed with that game. I think it's a critical, I mean, it's a big portion of the organization. Clearly, it's growing, it's attracting more people, but it does, like, I don't see anything that needs to be changed with Steel Challenge. However, knowing that I don't know enough about Steel Challenge game, I actually reached out to a few folks, and I asked specifically, Zach Jones is a national director for Steel Challenge. He's well recognized, he's well known in the Steel Challenge game. I sent him an email. I said, Zach, I'm sorry to bother you. I would be humbled if you educate me on some of these things. I don't know enough, and I feel like I should. And he was kind enough to have a conversation with me, and he brought a few points. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Some of these folks feel like they don't have enough representation on the board, and so the question was, like, well, do we want USPSA folks that should primarily USPSA to vote on changes to Steel Challenge rules, and do we want the same from the Steel? Like, if I'm shooting Steel Challenge, do I really want to vote on USPSA rules? And so one of the ideas that has been circulating around, but I actually spoke to Zach about this, and how about having not a separate board necessarily, but maybe a director of Steel Challenge that has a vote, or maybe is representing the Steel Challenge game. They need to have their own section coordinators, I think, because right now, if you look on the Steel Challenge website, there's only one section coordinator for the entire game, right? It used to be Mike Foley, now it's Shervin. He's the president of USPSA, is the section coordinator for all the Steel Challenge matches. So some of the feedback I got from folks like, oh, we don't have enough representation on the board, or like they don't feel included. They don't want to change their stages. From what I understand, previous administration wanted to introduce some new stages to the game.
That was me. That was just me. I got so bored shooting the same 8 stages. ADD won't have it. I just can't have it. All right. Yeah. So another question that's been brought up before is, do you think that the higher tiered shooters, the GMs, are the ones that should get priority to major matches, or is that something you don't think is appropriate?
I don't think it's appropriate. So I actually got an email on Facebook a while ago saying, hey, why don't we do this, for our GM? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. First of all, there's already a system in place that guarantees that the best of the best will get their slots to the national, right? Like, we already have the super squad, we already have the, awarded slots, we have the section slots that get distributed. So there's no reason to give preference to these top level guys. They will be there no matter what, like whether they, register early or they register, like whoever wants to shoot the national match, or like they will get their way in either through open registration or through awarded slots. So, and I would never want to take away an opportunity from some B-class guy who wants to go to the Nationals as their first match, because that was me. In 2018, I had, as a B-class guy, I went to the National. That was my first major match. So why would I ever want to take away that opportunity from? Maybe there's another JJ Ricaza that's training right now. He's in C-class, but like in 3 years, he's going to be kicking our asses. Maybe there's another.
He better make sure his hair is right before he shows up if he's going to try to be the next JJ.
You need to start working out.
All right, so this. Yeah. So I need to see some workout videos before you show up. So this is something that's brought up here is kind of a two-part question, but it's basically what's your experience with running matches, being an RO and things like that, and how do you think the organization could do better to improve the ROing of the major matches?
That's a good question. I'm a certified chief range officer. I got my RO certification I think first or second year of playing this game. I felt like that was an important part of understanding the game. I got my CRO certification a year ago. I am a local match director. We started running a match this year. So how do I improve? I actually have a section again on the website. Go check it out, guys. Specifically dedicated to the NRI or NROI corps and how I would like to improve certain things. I think we do not need more ROs. I think we need more qualified ROs. And so I would like to tighten the standards for passing and getting your RO certification. I don't think it should be a 3-try open book test where you only need to score 85. Like, listen, if you can't score 85% on an open book exam, then maybe you shouldn't be in that role. Maybe you should only get 2 tries. And if you on the second try you fail again, like maybe the next time you need to go through a refresher, and now you need to pass at a 95% rate. So I want to tighten those standards. I don't need more RO. Like, hey, listen, if I go to an RO class and I fail my test, does that mean I'm going to quit the game? Does that mean I'm going to quit running the timer at my local match? I won't. But, I will not be able to work a major match as an uncertified RO. I also want to implement, I would like to empower the RMIs to make these decisions on their, range officer candidates in the class directly. If they see somebody who they feel is just not suited, maybe. I saw it my, firsthand when I was taking my RO seminar. There were people that were in the class, but they were on their phone. They were not involved. My RMI was standing in front of the class, and he was sharing his experience, involved, professional, teaching us all these things. And these folks are just they're not there. So why are they getting their RO certification? So I'd like to empower these guys and listen, you're not grasping the commands. I'm sorry, come back later, but we're not going to certify you this time. It's, and maybe expect that as you're listen, when you're taking your RO seminar, it's a tough class. You may not pass. You're not guaranteed that you're going to get a RO certification.
There's more standards. I got you. All right. So I've got this last question I'm going to ask you from the gallery, and it is, what is maybe beyond your election cycle, but what is your vision? What do you think that USPSA should be in 5-10 years from now?
I would really like for us to focus on the competitive values and competition, the purity of competition. There was an article by Mike Foley, a few years ago, and I think it was something along the lines of what is USPSA? Is it a sport? Is it an activity? Is it an event? And the consensus was it's everything. We can have a fun family event. I'm like, yeah, it can be all that, but first and foremost, it's a competition. It's somewhere where people come to to train, to test their skills against the best shooters in their section, in their area, at the nationals, in the world. This is a competitive event. This is not a family activity. So rather than attract more people to the game, I'd like the game to be more focused on the competitive aspects. And then it'll attract, if you build it, there will come kind of a deal. I mean, look at how many people are coming into the game now and staying with it and growing. Look how many masters. Look how many people are making master and grandmaster after 2 or 3 years of training. This is a martial art, and it attracts certain people that want to get better at it, and earn their classification and compete and do better, not just participate. That's where I'd like to see the organization go.
Okay. All right. So I've asked all the questions we're going to bother you with tonight. The last thing is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you'd like to bring up, and so that you want people to know about you as far as the guy that's maybe on the ballot?
No, I mean, we covered a lot. I want people to go to my website, take a look at it. I think a lot of these points, I built them over a period of a year almost. Some of them actually came from actually experiencing these myself. So I'm hoping that they will connect with people. So go take a look, see what connects with you. Now, I understand, you said it in the beginning, you're going to be voting for your boy, right? You're going to be voting for your guy. You're somebody you saw in the
That's why I started doing this, is so people get a chance to be introduced to somebody that's maybe not their boy.
Yeah, and listen, huge thank you to you for doing this. I think this is one of the best things, even better than the memes. I think this is one of the best things you're doing for the organization.
It's actually 180-degree change, and it's disgusting. I hate myself every day. No. Anyway, go on. We want to talk about you, so go ahead.
No, but I mean, without you, this would not be happening. So, I was on a couple of podcasts, and these guys, without you guys, this would not be possible. So you are delivering the word that we're trying to deliver, to the folks. And in this day and age of social media, this is the way to go. So I understand that I may not be your guy, whoever's listening. But go check it out, check out the website. And if you're going to vote for your guy, go ahead. It's fine. You don't have to vote for me. Check out that campaign. See what connects with you. And then when you vote for your guy, ask your guy, hey, well, I like this. I don't like that guy, but I like his points. What are you going to do about this point? Are you doing something about this? Because I haven't seen anybody formulate their plan or formulate their vision, I listen to some folks, and hopefully they will come up with something solid that maybe I can get behind somebody. If I wouldn't be doing this if somebody else came out with this campaign. I'm like, hey, shit, man, I'm going to vote for this guy, and I'm going to put all my power behind him. So
Then I don't have to treat my game as a job.
Yeah. People ask me, why the hell, Mike, why are you doing this? Because you're going to hate USPSA in 3 years. You're going to burn out. I'm like, well, who else is going to do it? And so, Bill, there are like 18 people that are running. So, from what I understand, it's not just four.
It's right now. It's down to 5 because I've only know about 5. So I don't. Somebody asked about the website. So the website is Make USPSA Great Again.
MakeUSPSA.com. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, that's it for tonight, man. I try to keep these intros down to 35, 40 minutes. So, thanks for coming on. I'm going to have you hang up and I'll do my little spiel after that.
Cool, man. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too. Later.
All right, guys. That was Mike Shatalov. Like he said, apparently there was something like 16 people that wanted to run for the USPSA president, and right now, as far as I know, it's only 5. So if you know somebody, please have them, reach out to me. I try to get them on this thing. I want to get it so that when these guys are on the ballot, we can actually have them back on and get more detailed questions to them. So definitely try to get that info. Like the whole reason I'm doing this is because nobody is putting these guys in front of as many people as we can. So we're trying to use our evil powers of making memes and fun of everything to put some good behind it, because I do care about the sport a lot. So I said I'd give away this shirt. Right before I do that, we've got Bruce Wells coming on Sunday, same time at 6:00, and that's all I got. So if I can get some more emails from somebody that wants to run, let me know. I'd love to talk to people. Let's see. Now we got to find a reason to give away the shirt. What year did we start doing Go Fast, Don't Suck? That's a pretty solid question. What year did we start doing Go Fast, Don't Suck? Anybody got a guess? Anybody? 2019. 2019 is right. I got a large shirt for you. I could take a screenshot, but it came up as Manny. Manny has got the right answer. Manny, I'll shoot you a DM. We'll see you guys next time, Sunday, and please have them reach out to me. Take it easy, guys. Have a good evening.